Hi everyone, this is Peter Ferret with the Bashful Scripting video podcast. This is the first episode. I am trying to share my enthusiasm and my skills of bash scripting with you. You should have some basic knowledge of using a terminal. You should feel comfortable typing text into the black square line by line. I will start with a easy example, the Daily Notes app, and I will show you how to develop bash scripting fast by using my bash template, which is called Bashu. I will link to the GitHub repo in the description. It is a open source library that will get you started very fast with writing clean, flexible and pretty bash scripts for all kind of applications that you might think of. So the first episode, as I said, is about Daily Notes. It is a application I saw passing by recently in Hacker News. I thought, well, that seems easy, and it was actually quite easy, but there was some enthusiasm for this basic script, and I thought, like, I can probably do this in half an hour. So that's what we're going to try to do the same thing as the script in half an hour. Let's get into it. So the Daily Notes app, it's the original inspiration comes from Hachibu Node.shell. It was developed in Bash, in his case from scratch, so it's a very short Bash script actually. I will do it by using Bashu, which will give you an idea of how that helps you developing. And the environment or the editor I'm using is PHP Storm, which is the editor I'm using all the time for my PHP work, and actually works very well for bash scripting too. I think it probably has this functionality for all the JetBrains editors, so there's a good support for bash scripting, so syntax coloring obviously, but also the shell check plugin, which helps you check the quality of your code, and it helps you recognize names of variables and stuff like that. So it makes your life easier if you do it like this. And as you see on the bottom, I have a terminal window, so I can easily switch between writing code and testing the code in my terminal. So what does the Daily Notes app do? It's an app to keep notes of what you are thinking about or what you are doing during the day, and keep them in a one file per day in an archive of some kind. So an application might be if you are doing sysadmin and you want to keep track of everything you do, like I'm upgrading this software, I'm replacing this piece of hardware, so you keep a track of everything you do, so you can search it afterwards to see, like, when exactly did I change that disk, or when did we upgrade the OS on that server. A typical example would also be that you save this in kind of a Dropbox or OneDrive, so that you have a cloud archive of it, and that you can work on the same data from all your different machines. The basic usage of this script will be note, so note new, and then I can type some text like note new, I upgraded this software to this version, and it just adds it to today's note file. So automatically there should be a note file per day. I'm going to make sure that the script takes care of that. There's a note edit, which will open today's note file in your text editor. I will use VI or Nano, so the terminal editors. You could also make it work, I think, with Sublime or something like that, but let's assume that you want this to also work with the cloud server where you don't have the graphical user interface. Then you have Note Search, which helps you search for certain text in all your note files. And why not do a note list, so that you can get a list of all the files, all the note files that you have created during your usage of it, in your history of using it. This is not obviously this is not a very unique idea. This has been done a couple of times by other people. There's a to-do.txt library. There's a Pim Terry has written a note. So a lot of GitHub projects do this. Mostly these are the ones that are doing it in Bash. There are obviously people doing it in Python or other programming languages, but let's try to do what Hachibu did in Node. So I'm going to start with using Bashful. Bashful works like this. Ooh, I think I should actually upgrade it. Bashful upgrade B for it. Bashful, and let's see what version I have now. Bashful 1.13.7, that seems to be correct. Okay, the most simple way to make a new bash script is by doing Bashful script. Bashful should pick up on your user data, like your name, email address, and your GitHub user, because it's easy to find in your other repositories. Now the name of the script, more in DAOs. No, we're not going to take this random name. We're going to call it note.shell and keep track of daily notes is the usage of it. And voila, we have our note.shell. You can see it pop up here, note.shell, and if we run it, we can see that there's some usage already there. Now let's open the file. Don't be scared, it's not that scary actually. So the Bashful scripts are not short. They are, let's take a look, they are about 750 lines. Now all the stuff that you should do, all the stuff that matters for creating a new script is in the top part of the script. So you will see at some point it says there be dragons here, like do not modify below this line. Do not modify below this line, obviously. Everything that you need to add to the script you can do above this. You will see there's also a lot of comments in there. We will not need this necessarily, but I'm going to keep it there so maybe you would make it more clear for you what it's trying to do. Now the first thing we will do is work with the options. You see here, like there's flags, binary flags. Typically they are by default off, and if you specify them, they are on. There are options like the log directory and the temporary directory, and we will add some more. So these are text fields typically, and then you have the parameters like action parameter, input, output. Now we're going to adapt this a bit for our usage. I'm not going to touch the flags, that's fine. Temporary directory, I will not be using that. These are examples that I don't need. I will only need one input, and it will typically be text, well, always be text actually, and it's an optional one, so I need it for some of the actions and not for others. And then the action, what we will use here as actions will be, as I said earlier, add, edit, what was the other one? Search and list. These are the four verbs, let's say, of this script, and some of them, add for instance has a parameter, search has a parameter, edit does not, and list has not. Okay, so this looks already a bit more like what we want to do. You see that it is automatically adapted in the usage of the script, but we will need some more stuff. We will need to save the node files somewhere, so we will add an option, let's call it D, and it is the node dir, so the folder for the nodes, folder for node files, and by default, which will take something similar, it's home/nodes, for instance. And we will also add an option to choose the extension of node files, extension, and by default it will be MD for markdown, or you can make it TXT for text. Let's start with this. You see it's automatically adapted here. So we will be working a lot of the times with the note of the day, like adds text to the note of the day, edit opens the note of the day. So we have to create this note of the day. Let's do that here. So in the main, you will see in Bashful everything is a function. This is to make sure that in any function you can be sure that every variable has been defined, that should be defined, and every function that you might use has been defined. You will see at the end of Bashful, in the part where you never touch, it just calls some preparation functions, and then it calls the main just at the end. So at that point, when you enter the main, everything has been defined. All the subroutines and functions that you want to use are already defined. This is important because Bash is an interpreted language, so it reads line by line. I'm already at 11 minutes, I should hurry. So we are going to create the note of today, and we will create that as follows. We will take the note dir, which we defined upstairs, so that's obviously the place where we're going to edit it. And now we need a let's say we will start the script prefix is defined in one of the default functions. So it's basically the name of the script, note.shell, but without the .shell if there is one. So it's basically this time, in this moment, it's note dot today, and we will define today higher, and then dot extension. Okay, that seems like a good function, but now we need to define today, and we will define it by using this bash construct, like run a program, take the output, and then use that value. So we will use date, which is the program to let me show you. Date gives you a date. Of course, this format that you're getting here is not very nice for file names, the spaces and stuff that we don't need, but date allows you to specify, let's put it like this, specify a format like M and D. This is the format for the year, the month, and the day, like this. Perfect. I will take this and I will just drop it in here so we know it works. It works, and then it will complain about the note there not being defined, which is warning from shell check. So shell check is running in the background all the time on this script, and it tells you like note today has not been defined. This is true, but actually this is because of the way that Bashful does its option and parameter parsing. It happens in a subroutine which does not, is basically a loop, but it does not show up in the code that at some point note that has been defined. So this we have to add for the check here, and I think there's another one. Note today, it will now complain about the fact that note today will not be used yet. Okay, perfect. Now let's start defining the actions. Action 1, let's say that action 1 will be new, or add. We said add, I think. Add. Okay. Let's do that. So if action is add, but because we sometimes forget how these things work, it will work with note add or note new. Both will work. It does. It asks you to add a note to today's file, and that it's for upgrade FFmpeg to V12, whatever. first thing works, but still, okay. So that is do add input, and we will have to define do add later. And then action 2, let's say that action 2 is edit, and then we'll do the rest later. Voila, okay, edit, and do edit. Doesn't need a parameter. To open today's node file in an editor. Nice. Okay, so we have a do add and a do edit, and then we have a list. Oops. We have a list command, and we will call that do list, of course. And it's to list all node files. Cool. And then we have the other one will be search. Search, or let's also make sure that it works if you do find or if you do grep, because you will always remember one of those. And we do search. No, wait, let's use find. To find text in all nodes, and you do find, and for instance you would find everything that has to do with every node that has to do with GitHub. So do find. Cool. So this part is finished. I like to keep this very compact so that it's easy for me to read this and say like, what is happening here? Okay, I have an add, a search, an edit, a list, and then the check always exists. Leave it like that. Perfect. So I know, I have in my mind what is possible with this. Now we have to do the do add, the do find, and do edit, and then the other one was do list, I think. I'm always looking here to out to a file. Is that necessary? I might take it out actually. But so to do add, remember that the name of today's file is this one, node today. So if we do add, we're going to do the following. First of all, we're going to check if the file exists. So if this file does not exist, this is the Bash testing system. So test if this file exists not. So if this file does not exist, then we're just gonna create it. Cool. So there's always something there, and then we will say that we will echo. Let's say we work with dashes, dash the first parameter of do add to this file. So double greater than means add it to the end of the file. Keep what is in the file there, but just add it at the end. That works okay. So I think there's going to be an error here, but let's try it. So we do node.shell add. Okay, I know what's happening. This file, this folder does not exist yet, so we have to add that here. Ooh, we're almost at 20 minutes. Let's pick up the speed. So we will do the following actually. We will say that, just like we did before, if the folder node dir does not exist yet, then make directory folder, but imagine that we do like with subfolders and everything, we're going to make sure that all the intermediate folders are created too. So then we could even have a note there that has a year in it, for instance, as a sub folder, and then this would work too. So this will create the folder if it doesn't exist yet. Again, he says, I'm not sure it's been created. Trust me, it's been created. Cool, do add. Cool, so now let's see what happens. Do add, and we're gonna add, for instance, upgraded the firmware. Firmware to 2021. Voila. Yeah, but it has added it, but I can't really be sure of that. So what we're going to do here in the add is we're going to show you where I've added it and what some content is. So we're going to do the following. We're going to do some output. So I use out as the function to do output. It's it makes it possible to run in verbose and silent or quiet mode. Like if I specify -q for quiet, all the outs are basically not going to output anything. So we're going to do out. What is this? He's complaining about something. Oh, yeah, well, that's for later, I think. This is this one. He's complaining about that. Good. Out. We're going to the name of the file, which is the base name of node today, so that I know where it's been. And we're going to do tail -3, for instance, of this takes this shows you the last 3 lines of your file, so that you have an idea, like, okay, I have added it to the file, and that's what the file already contains. Like, do the following. I'm going to do add reboot, and you see that it just has added this to my node file of today. Perfect. Add is finished. Now let's go to the find. How do you find stuff in Bash? Well, you use the program that is best at finding stuff, which is grep. I'm gonna do grep. I'm gonna work with the search term I just gave, and I'm gonna search in a folder. So basically the folder is not there, but to search in a folder I have to make sure that the grep is doing it recursively, and to make sure that I also pick up on differences in uppercase, lowercase. I'm gonna do -i, which makes the whole thing not case sensitive. Cool. So this, if I would say I want to find something that has to do with boot, I will find it here. You know what? I'm going to actually add some color. So I think I would, yeah, then I see what's happening there. Do I have time to, I'm just going to leave it like this. Then do edit. That's also quite easy. I'm going to use an editor to edit my node today. Now, 2 things here. If the node file doesn't exist yet, I'm gonna create it, because otherwise I would be opening an empty file, which most editors have no problems with, but why not? And then editor has not been defined yet, so I'm going to define it here. It is already an E. I'm gonna make it T maybe. A T for editor, which is the editor to use, and I'm going to use VI, which is Vim, which is a special kind of console editor, but I'm used to working with it. You can also take Nano, which is a bit more intuitive for people who are not using Vim too much. So now I have an editor that has been defined as a default value, and again he's complaining that it doesn't exist yet. That's fine, I know it exists. Cool. which now means if I do edit, find edit, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to do edit, and there we have it. We're opened in a NVI. Cool. I implemented edit. How much? 25 minutes. I think this is going to work. And then do list. Well, basically I want to have a list of all the files that I have. How to do this? The best tool for this in Bash is find. The command find, and I will start find in the node there. Now I will just list all the files. Dash type F means only files, no folders. And I am going to make sure I only take the files with the right extension. So in my case, the MD files. Let's see what that gives. Should already work, no? Voila, it gives me that. Yeah, okay, it will. There's only one for now, so that's normal, but I need some more information about that. Let's do something else. I'm actually gonna take the output of find and I'm gonna pipe it into a new command. This is this piping from one command to the other, which basically means your standard your output, I'm gonna give it to the other program's input, and then they can work together. Super powerful, super powerful. This is one of the reasons why Bash can sometimes do things that are so much more elegant and so much faster than in any other language, because you will have to take care of this whole piping yourself. So we do finds. We're actually going to do a little while script. So what I'm going to read here is a node file do done. Okay, what does this do? Yeah, I need to put something here or he's going to complain all the time. Okay, so the while loop will run as long as there is output from the find command. So find command is just giving the full file names of all these files, and the while is reading them, and then you can do something within the while command, the while do done command to do something with that. Okay, so it's good to have the node file. I'm going to say that the node name, for instance, is base name of $node file. So I could, instead of having the full path here, I could just show you the node file. Let's see if that would work. I'm going to use printf because I'm going to do some formatted output, and then it's easier to do it in this way. So I'm going to say that I'm going to show this as a 20 character string. And what am I going to shoot? Node name. Let's see what happens. Yeah, maybe it would be best to have a line feed at the end, otherwise it's gonna look funny, right? Cool. So now I want to know something more about this script. I want to know the node file. I want to know the size or something like that. So I'm gonna do some node stats, which is I'm gonna do the output of the following. I'm gonna take the node file and I'm gonna give it to the command wc, which is word count. Word count will, if I give those other options, will give me the number of lines, number of words, and number of characters. This gives me an idea of how big this file will be. And then the node stats, I'm gonna also add them. This is 30 minutes. Well, I'm pretty finished actually, and I was talking a lot. Let's blame it on that. I will do the following. We'll just give that as an input, and now I can see I have the name of the file, number of lines, number of words, number of characters, and to make that prettier, I'm just gonna put this in the beginning. I'm going to have a header so that I actually know what I'm talking about, and this is going to be lines, words, and characters. Let's see what that looks like if I print it. Yes, let's do the following. Lines, I think, has to skip three characters to line up with yes. Words, another 2 characters, and cars probably another 2. What does that look like? Well, that's readable, let's say. Cool. And then so I have this. Oh, I actually could add here. Let's see if that works. I'm gonna add the color yellow. That's defined by Bashful, and then reset the color to. Let's see what that gives us. No, it gives me not a good idea. It only works for the out commands, not for a regular printf, so I'm gonna just do it like this. Anyway, I implemented node.shell. It has a folder where to put the nodes, an extension, and preferred editor for the edit command, and then I can work with the add, edit, search, and list. Now, I did it in 30 minutes, let's say. I'm going to add some more information, like some more features of Bashful, so that you can see how Bashful helps you make more flexible scripts. Like, imagine I want to save the node files in Dropbox apps node, for instance. I can specify it here on the command line. I could say node.shell -d $home /Dropbox home Dropbox nodes or whatever, Dropbox apps nodes. I can specify it, but then I don't want to do that every time. That would take the beauty out of the whole thing. So what I can do, let me show you the check command. You saw earlier that it was predefined. Check command is basically a quick checkup of, do I have all the programs to run this this script, and what are all my variables like, all my parameters, my options. And I can see that now you can see that node dir has become that Dropbox dir. There's actually another thing I can do. I can do the following. I'm going to do nodes env, and I'm going to give the output to a .env variable. Okay, now let's see what the .env contains. All these variables, so the flags and the options that I'm using are now defined in here, which means that I can change them here, and then Bashful, or Node in this case, which is a implementation of Bashful, will pick up that there is a .env file, read it, and then use these as the defaults. So I'm basically overriding my script defaults. Now, this is not bad. I'm just gonna clean it up a bit. Editor, let's keep it VI, or I could change it here to Nano, and then it would use Nano. Float there, I'm not really worried about that. So I'm going to use the Dropbox apps nodes here. And now you will see if I do node.shell check, you will see that the node there is the node there that I defined in the .env file, which is perfect. So now I can forget about having to specify that every time, and I can do node. Wait, that's not gonna work. Node add new file, and you will see it is actually a new file, and it's saved under the Dropbox folder I just specified. And also you see, I'm not sure if the apps folder already existed or the notes folder, certainly not, but he created all of them, all the intermediate folders too, to get to the actual folder there. Perfect. Is there anything else I want to say to this? maybe I can show you the verbose option. As you saw before, I'm going to close this now. I create the note of the day. I do that in the beginning here, I think. Note today, let's say. Well, let me think that if I'm debugging something, I want to see what I just created here. And I'm going to say note today is note. This is like a poor man's debugging, I know, but still. Note today. If I use the debug instead of out, it will not show up when I just run the program. It will only show up when I use the -v for verbose. So let's do -v for note. Voila. It shows you a lot of things. Like in the beginning, there's a lot of detection of what system am I running on, what folder is this, what version is this, blah, blah, blah. You see that all these are picked up. Then you see also that it's reading from .env, which is what we expected to do. And then, and then I have to run check. For instance, you will see that the node today is the one I just created here, and with the full path, so we can see what's happening there. So that was the verbose. I use it typically when things don't work the way I think they should, and there's like something I'm missing, and then with the verbose mode I can see step by step what's happening, and then say okay, this variable it does not do, or this function does not do what I thought it would do, and that's where I should fix it. So that's verbose for debugging. I'm gonna close it up for now with this. I did my 30-minute stretch to develop the whole thing. It does actually a bit more than the original one, because that one only did, I think, add and search. So I will put this script online in a GitHub repo. I will also put in the description a link to the Bashful script, which is, I hope you get an idea of how strong it can be. I will also in next episodes talk about other ways to use Bashful, like with using template repos in GitHub, because then you get a whole project, not just one file. You get a whole project with CI/CD. You get installation with Basher, which I will talk about later too. And but I think this is good for the first one. Thanks everyone, and I hope I can see you in, let's say, a week from now.